The night was restless, the sky torn apart by thunder, as if the heavens themselves were furious. Grenswick, a town wrapped in centuries of myths and fear, stood still under the storm's relentless downpour. Its cobbled streets shone slick with rain, the flickering lamps barely holding back the shadows that stretched across crooked buildings. People hurried home, shutters drawn tight, for everyone in town knew the storm carried whispers, and the whispers always came for those who had broken promises with the dead. In the center of the town, at the edge of a hill overlooking the graveyard, sat the old stone house of Evelyn Morgan. Evelyn had once been known for her laughter, for her beauty, and for her devotion to Daniel, her husband of 10 years. But all that had changed 1 year ago, on a night much like this, when Daniel had died in a horrific accident on a winding, rain-slick road. His car had overturned, the fire consuming him before help could arrive. The loss had shattered Evelyn in ways no one could comprehend. In the months that followed, grief became her only companion. Her friends tried to console her, her family begged her to move in with them, but Evelyn refused to leave the house she had shared with Daniel. Instead, she locked herself away, curtains drawn, nights spent crying in silence. It was during one of these nights, wandering the attic filled with dust and forgotten relics, that she had discovered an ancient leather-bound book hidden inside an old trunk. Its title was burned into the cover in a language she didn't recognize, but inside, in the margins, someone had scribbled translations. Ars Mortem, the art of returning the dead. At first, she laughed at it, dismissing it as some deranged collector's fantasy. But then the dreams began. Night after night, Evelyn dreamed of Daniel, standing in the dark, reaching for her, his voice echoing, "Bring me back." She woke every morning with tears soaking her pillow, the memory of his hand slipping just out of reach haunting her. Soon, the book no longer seemed like nonsense. It seemed like an answer. She began to study it obsessively, learning the symbols, gathering the ingredients: black salt, raven's feathers, soil taken from the freshly dug earth of the cemetery. By the time autumn came, Evelyn was no longer herself. Her cheeks were hollow, her once soft voice sharp with determination. She was convinced Daniel wanted her to do this. Love, she told herself, was stronger than death. And so, on this storm-lashed night, she was ready. The attic smelled of wax and iron. Dozens of candles surrounded the carved ritual circle, their flames bending unnaturally, as though pulled by something unseen. Evelyn knelt in the center, the book open before her, and clutched Daniel's wedding ring, the last thing of his she had left. Her fingers trembled, but her voice was steady as she spoke the incantation, each word scraping against her throat. The thunder roared in rhythm with her chant, the windows rattling violently as shadows thickened along the walls. The final word left her lips, and silence fell. The storm seemed to pause, the air in the attic pressing against her chest like a weight. Then the candles flared, their flames turning black and green, casting twisted light across the floor. A low, guttural sound filled the room, like breathing, but deeper, hungrier. Evelyn's heart pounded as she clutched the ring tighter. "Daniel," she whispered. From the corner of the attic, the shadows began to coil, stretching upward into a form, tall, broad-shouldered, the outline unmistakable. Tears blurred Evelyn's vision as she gasped, covering her mouth. It was him. It had to be him. She crawled toward the edge of the circle, desperate to see his face. But then, the figure stepped into the light. Its head tilted unnaturally, its mouth stretched into a jagged grin too wide for any human face. Its eyes glowed with a sickly, otherworldly light. The voice that answered was layered, Daniel's, but also something else, something crueler. "You called me back," it rasped. "You begged, and I have come." Evelyn's chest tightened. "Daniel, it's you, isn't it? Pleased it's you." The thing laughed, a horrible sound that echoed through the rafters. "If you want me, let me out. Break the circle." She froze, her hand hovering over the boundary etched into the floor. The book had been clear. Never break the circle. That was the only barrier between her and whatever she had summoned. Yet her heart screamed for her husband, begged her to take the chance. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Daniel, if it's really you, say something only we would know." The thing paused. Then, in Daniel's voice, it said softly, "The roses. You hated when I planted them by the window because you said the thorns would catch your dress." Evelyn sobbed, her hands trembling violently. That was true. Only Daniel would have known that. She reached for the circle, ready to wipe away the salt. But just as her hand neared, she noticed the shadow on the wall behind the figure. It wasn't Daniel's. It had horns, wings, and claws that scraped along the floor. She gasped, pulling her hand back. The creature snarled, its voice twisting with fury. "Do not deny me. You called me. You cannot undo this." It slammed against the barrier, the floor shaking as cracks spread across the wood. Evelyn screamed, scrambling back as she grabbed the book, frantically searching the pages for a reversal. Her vision blurred, the ink swimming in her tears. The entity roared, its claws tearing at the invisible wall. "You cannot send me back. You belong to me now." Her voice shook as she began chanting the reversal, the words foreign and jagged on her tongue. The storm outside grew violent, the roof threatening to tear away. Glass shattered, the candles snuffed out one by one, until only a faint glow remained around the circle. The creature thrashed, its form twisting, sometimes Daniel, sometimes a monstrous abomination. "Evelyn," it screamed in Daniel's voice. "Don't do this. Don't let me go." Every ounce of her soul screamed in agony. But Evelyn continued the chant. The creature screeched, its body convulsing, the shadows tearing at the walls as if the very fabric of reality was being ripped apart. With a final cry, it dissolved into smoke, sucked back into the darkness from which it came. The attic collapsed into silence. Evelyn fell to the floor, clutching Daniel's ring against her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. She had done it. She had stopped it. But as the silence pressed in, she realized she had also lost Daniel all over again. In the days that followed, Evelyn tried to live as though nothing had happened. She burned the book, scattering its ashes in the river. She prayed, she tried to sleep, she tried to eat. But at night, the whispers returned. Daniel's voice, soft and pleading. "Bring me back. Evelyn, bring me back." Her mirrors reflected fleeting shadows. The attic creaked though she never went there again, and sometimes, in her dreams, she felt a hand, warm, familiar, resting on her cheek. Weeks later, on another stormy night, Evelyn disappeared. The neighbors heard screaming from her house, saw a strange green light flickering in the attic window. When the police arrived the next morning, the house was empty. The circle was carved deeper into the floor, and Daniel's ring lay in the center, cracked down the middle. Evelyn was never seen again. Some say she succeeded, that she reunited with Daniel in death, or something darker. Others believe she was dragged into the abyss by the entity she once called. But Grenswick remembers her. On stormy nights, when the wind howls through the graveyard and lightning strikes the hill, people swear they hear her voice echoing from the old stone house, desperate, broken, whispering the same words over and over. "Bring him back. Bring back the dead."